On May 29, 1453, the walls of the greatest city on earth were finally breached. Not by fate, not by betrayal, but by thunder. Cannon fire so powerful it cracked stone that it stood for 1,000 years. By sunrise, an empire older than most nations today was bleeding out in its streets. This was the day Constantinople fell. The fall of Constantinople was not just the capture of a city. It was the collapse of the Byzantine Empire, the final chapter of the Roman world, and a moment that permanently reshaped global history. One terrifying day marked the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of a new era defined by gunpowder, exploration, and empire. Welcome back to Dusted Dynasties, the channel where lost civilizations, fallen rulers, and world-changing moments are brought back from the dust of time. Today, we're telling the full story of the terrifying final day of Constantinople, from the last desperate prayers to the moment the gates were overrun. For over a millennium, Constantinople was considered the most heavily defended city on earth. Founded in 330 AD by Emperor Constantine the Great, it was meant to be a new Rome, strategically positioned between Europe and Asia, on the site of what is today modern Istanbul. Its strength came from the legendary Theodosian walls, a triple-layered system of stone, towers, and moats that had defeated countless invaders. Persians, Arabs, Bulgars, and early Islamic armies all failed to take the city. To many, Constantinople seemed invincible, protected not only by stone, but by God himself. But by the 1400s, the illusion of power had faded. The Byzantine Empire had been slowly strangled over centuries. By 1453, it controlled little more than the city and a few scattered territories. Once bustling districts were abandoned. Fields and gardens grew where markets once stood. The city still looked magnificent, but it was hollow. Rising against this weakened empire was a new force, the Ottoman Empire. At its head stood Sultan Mehmed II, only 21 years old, but intensely driven. Unlike previous Ottoman rulers, Mehmed was highly educated, fluent in multiple languages, and deeply fascinated by Roman history. He didn't just want to conquer Constantinople, he wanted to replace it. Prophecy spoke of a great leader who would one day take the city, and Mehmed was convinced that leader was him. He prepared meticulously, learning from every failed siege before him. Most importantly, he embraced new technology. Mehmed's secret weapon was gunpowder artillery. A Hungarian engineer named Orban built massive cannons for the Ottomans, including one monstrous bombard capable of firing stone balls weighing over 1,200 pounds. The cannon shook the ground when it fired and terrified defenders even when it missed. These weapons changed warfare forever. Walls that had resisted arrows and catapults were no longer safe. By April 1453, Mehmed surrounded Constantinople with an army estimated between 80,000 and 100,000 men. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos had fewer than 7,000 defenders, including Genoese and Venetian volunteers. The imbalance was catastrophic. The siege began on April 6th. Day and night, Ottoman cannons battered the Theodosian walls. Stone shattered, towers cracked, smoke and dust filled the air. Each night, Byzantine defenders rushed to repair breaches using rubble, timber, and whatever they could find. At sea, the Byzantines had one advantage. A massive iron chain stretched across the entrance to the Golden Horn, blocking Ottoman ships and protecting the city's weaker northern walls. Mehmed refused to accept this. In one of the most daring maneuvers in military history, he ordered his ships dragged over land. Using wooden rollers and animal fat, Ottoman forces hauled dozens of ships across hills and forests and launched them into the Golden Horn behind the chain. When the defenders woke up, enemy ships were already inside the harbor. Hope began to collapse. As the siege dragged on, fear turned into despair. Strange omens were reported throughout the city. A thick fog rolled in, something rare for Constantinople. Then came a lunar eclipse, darkening the moon that symbolized the city itself. Most terrifying of all, witnesses claimed a mysterious light rose from the dome of Hagia Sophia and vanished into the sky. Many believed it was the Holy Spirit leaving the city. Emperor Constantine XI was offered escape. He refused. On the night of May 28th, the city held its final Christian service. Inside Hagia Sophia, Catholics and Orthodox Christians, divided for centuries, prayed together. People confessed sins, embraced loved ones, and prepared for death. The emperor himself joined the service, then returned to the walls to await the final assault. Just before dawn on May 29th, the Ottomans launched their all-out attack. Waves of troops surged forward. First came poorly equipped irregulars, meant to exhaust the defenders. Then Anatolian soldiers. Finally, the elite janissaries, trained from childhood and fiercely loyal to the sultan. The fighting was brutal and chaotic. At a critical moment, a small gate known as the Kerkaporta was discovered open, possibly by accident. Ottoman soldiers rushed through, raising their banners inside the city. Near the gate of St. Romanus, Emperor Constantine XI fought alongside his men. When he realized the city was lost, he removed his imperial insignia and charged into the enemy. The last Roman emperor disappeared into the chaos. His body was never definitively identified. By morning, Constantinople had fallen. According to medieval custom, the city was surrendered to 3 days of looting. Ottoman soldiers flooded the streets. Thousands were killed or enslaved. Terrified civilians fled to Hagia Sophia, believing it would be spared. It was not. When Sultan Mehmed entered the city, he ordered to stop the violence. Walking through the ruins, he declared Constantinople the new capital of his empire. The Roman world was over. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across Europe and beyond. Greek scholars fled west, bringing ancient texts with them. Their knowledge fueled the Renaissance. Trade routes to Asia were now dominated by the Ottomans, pushing European powers to search for new sea routes. This quest led directly to the age of exploration and the discovery of the Americas. The Ottoman Empire emerged as one of the most powerful forces on Earth, ruling for centuries. One city's fall reshaped the entire world. Constantinople didn't fall quietly. It fell in fire, fear, and thunder. Its final day marked the death of an ancient empire and the birth of the modern world. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most dramatic moments, like the video, subscribe, and comment below with the next event you want Dusted Dynasties to uncover. Because here, history doesn't fade. It rises and falls.